presentation will be entitled The Wrong Hero in Triumph of the Superego. Of course, you know that the visual component will be totally at odds with the audio component. That's not mere ineptitude. That is an advanced postmodernistic, surrealistic statement, an artistic manifesto, if you will. As such, I would appreciate your devoted attention for the 2-hour entirety of this programming. And now, the wrong hero in Triumph of the Superego. Well, let me ask you this. Would you buy a used man from this car? I was talking to my girlfriend recently, and I've been reading this book by the Masons entitled When Elephants Weep. And I told her, well, you know that the average chimpanzee orgasm is only 30 seconds long. And she said, well, I hear that the average human orgasm is only 2 minutes long. And I said, who told you about orgasms? Anyway, you know, also in recent findings, scientists have said that anxiety is genetic. And my question is, how can they know? How can they know? So, I don't know. I'm writing a book on obsessive compulsiveness, by the way, and before I send the book to the printer, I'm going to proofread it about 40 or 50 times. Every word, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. So needless to say, it's probably going to take me about 7 years just to finish proofreading it. The notes, that is. I haven't actually started writing the book yet. As a matter of fact, I'm still proofreading the bibliography. Yes, no, yes, no. Anyway, there was this recent controversy about ebonics. And, you know, it's the black version of English, which is, you know, all to the good. Black English is a dialect of English. You know, that's no big deal. I think that the Oakland School Board was misinterpreted when they said that it was a separate language. That's just school talk. I mean, they just want to get their appropriations. They're not really concerned about scientific exactitude and semiotics and linguistics and the like. But well, you know, in my family, Italian family, we have something similar. It's called italics. It's like, Grandma, if a tree falls in the forest, does it make a sound? What you doing going in the forest? Trees falling everywhere. You get yourself killed. So much for that. And of course, you can't do italics without waving your arms around with wild gesticulations. By the way, have you seen those ads? Here I go again. I'm not quite as bad as to make jokes about the president and other powerful authority figures with whom presumably everybody can not only identify, but in some small degree identify with. But I am to the point where I am calling to task particularly objectionable ad campaigns, such as the one for the salad dressing. I won't name the name. Don't want to give them any free publicity, in which the incredulous Italian family can't believe that Mama didn't actually make the dressing herself, but purchased it in a store-bought bottle container, to the degree of which, when she finally insists that, in fact, the salad dressing is, in fact, a store-bought variety, one incredulous old dago says, you sold them the recipe, we're going to be rich. Now, you know, this is very objectionable to me as an Italian-American. I think that a true Italian-American, on finding out that Mama had sold the recipe for the salad dressing to the salad company, would say something like, yeah, well, we're going to pay a little visit over to their office later on, and we're going to find out just when those royalty payments are going to come. Me, Lefty, Muggsy, aircraft carrier Forehead, and all the boys, that is, are going to go see just when those payments are due. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have left so much dead air. but it gives you a chance to look upon the programming that I am actually tape recording over. You see, I have a show coming up in just 2 days, a long show, and so, you know, I'm just sort of taking notes here. Salad dressing, yes. Thing is, though, the audience I'm going to address is primarily scientists, you see. So I got to whip out all of my scientific jokes, of which I have exactly 3. Like Einstein goes into a pizza parlor and orders a pizza, and the guy behind the counter says, "With everything?" And Einstein looks thoughtful for a minute and says, "Well, according to the laws of physics, that would be impossible." So there's another one. Yeah, I can write that one down. And so, see, the thing is, I have my doubts about my chosen career path here, because it's difficult to come up with jokes that everybody can identify with without lowering the level of your discourse to that of an irremediable idiot. So, and the thing is, there aren't really that many specialty audiences out there. If there were, I suppose I'd be making a tidy fortune on the lecture circuit, lecturing bored businessmen about the rigors of their existence and some cute little anecdotes. You know, that's what I should do. The hell with this claptrap. Where's it getting me? Yeah, go on the lecture circuit. Get listed in the Gales directory. You know, just make up any old shit. It doesn't matter. Just tell them, yeah, noted speaker, 20 years experience. We'll lecture to small business and large business groups about ways in which to increase work productivity with a humorous slant. Just right for those after-dinner soirees replete with cigars and cognac at Cancun or wherever it is those corporate fat cats leech on their corporate accounts and go to these so-called seminars in which nothing gets done. Yeah, I'm sure I'd go over like gangbusters if I bothered to point this out to them too. Well, anyway, I was thinking about good advice that people have been giving me, and well, you know, a lot of people have given me lots of advice. Like my father said to me, "Kid, don't make jokes about stuff that you've done, because even if it's a joke, people will think you're serious." So I guess that merry little quip about my having robbed several banks and set several fires in West Warwick, Rhode Island, wouldn't exactly go over big at the Policemen's Benevolent Fraternal Order Lodge meeting, because, you know, they might clap the darbies on me come the end of the speech. "Okay, punk, you're coming with us. We got several unsolved murders of policemen that we'd like to clear up, and you're just the candidate. No family, no friends, no money. It's perfect. You got 3 strikes against you already, and I'll bet you have a criminal record." No, but I do have Charlie Manson's first LP. "Well, that alone will get you 5 years. Conspiracy to commit sedition. But you're going to have 2 witnesses." "Well, me and Casey the cop here, we're the witnesses. You as much as said so, right in front of us. How stupid can you get? Good thing we got it all on tape. Eh, Clancy?" So, anyway, one time a sailor said to me, and I was 14 years old and flying to Northfield, Minnesota to attend the ABC program, and I was seated between 2 chain-smoking sailors whose salient advice to me was, "Kid, don't ever join the Navy." But, you know, I think the best advice I ever got was from this somewhat beleaguered substitute teacher. I believe it was in the 7th grade at McKnocker Junior High School. Now, there's a great name for a junior high school. They're just at the impressionable age where anything having to do with sexual organs or profanity is bound to raise a giggle. So you're the class, you know, you're a big man on campus at McKnocker, you know, or a big woman on campus for that matter. Perhaps a Scottish woman. "What is your clan?" "Oh, I'm from County Clare." "Well, that's Irish." "Sure, and we don't like Irish people around here. Anyway,
Sure, we don't like Irish people around here.
Best advice I ever got was from the substitute teacher. He was vainly attempting to keep order in the class and failing miserably because he didn't even know the lesson plan. But, you know, even if he did, substitute teacher, fresh meat, you know, eat them raw. And so he allowed us to spend most of the day telling jokes, that is, most of the class. And, well, one of the jokes he told was, there was an Indian standing on the corner. Now, this is terribly politically incorrect, but you have to keep in mind this was 1970. There was this Indian standing on the corner saying, "Where? Where?" And finally, someone walked up to him and said, "Say, Big Chief, I thought Indians were supposed to say, how?" To which the Indian replied, "Me already know how. Me want to know where." So anyhow, the best advice he gave was also in the form of a witty little rhyme, sort of a joke type thing. And it was, "Best let it out and bear the shame, then hold it in and bear the pain." Now, I believe he was talking about flatulence, but that advice is equally apropos to virtually any situation. Well, maybe not any situation. Yes, officer, I did knock over the First Central Bank. No. I think I'll live with the pain of that withheld revelation for just another 20 years or so until I'm too old to be put in prison. Wow. And speaking of which, people over 50 who go to prison almost always go because of, can you guess? Sex crimes, according to Dr. Theodore Dalrymple, who writes in The Spectator, published in London. He also says that most of these guys also have canes for whatever reason. Well, the reason he gives is, well, if they're going to prison for the first time, they want a cane so that the other convicts revere them for their agedness and don't try to gang rape them in the shower. Don't bend over, old-timer. That's my advice to you. Anyway, I had this thing called Little Jack Horner. It's called Situationist Nursery Rhymes. Now, I've done this to death already. I mean, I've been doing this and doing this. Nobody seems to think it's really amusing. It's really just like a selfish tour de force. Little Jack Horner sat in the corner eating his Christmas pie. He put in his thumb and pulled out a plum and said, "My selection of this fruit, which clarifies my intent to render an ideological judgment, symbolizes what Freud would call a food-dirtying motif and represents the expropriative greed of a state of arrested development stemming from a childhood burdened by affective deprivation due to the depredations of a ruthlessly exploitative, objectifying, mercantilist society which rules and fragments the nuclear family by means of the iron law of wages. What a good boy am I." And if you're ready, there's another one here. Old King Cole was ruthless in his oblivious exploitation of his objectified and thoroughly pacified salaried robots who brought him his pipe bowl and fiddlers 3, stupefying palliatives which made the otherwise intolerable boredom of his hegemonic regime palatable. Anyway, let me tell you a little bit about The Wrong Hero, and incidentally, the triumph of my superego. I'm the wrong hero, and I am apathetically engaged, frivolously serious, altruistically misanthropic, cynically utilitarian, sympathetically callous, omnisciently ignorant, thoughtlessly philosophical. I am an ascetic glutton, a proletarian nobleman, and I believe in sacrificial hedonism, Dionysian stoicism. And I am a nihilistic animist, a materialistic Taoist, a fighting Quaker, a fucking monk, and I was voted the stupidest genius in my class at Harvard University. I'm oxymoronically non-contradictory, positively negative, an active placebo. This is my most forgettable tour de force, and you will utterly forget it the second I finish speaking, which won't be for a while yet. Anyway, I'd like to tell you a little bit about my new line of micro brews. you know, everybody's going into business for themselves. Maybe they're buying a pretzel franchise or what have you. Uh, Quite frankly, I don't think there's that much money in pretzels, although there is a lot of dough. Ho, ho, ho. Yes, it's an earlier, gentler type of humor, depending largely upon extremely bad puns and other types of similarly idiotic wordplay. A style of humor which, thankfully, is fast passing from the local landscape, except, of course, in the milieu of the comics pages, where something like, oh, I don't know, Shoe, or For Better or For Worse, or The Family Circus, or you name it, they all depend on stupid puns. Now, the new class of comic in the funny pages doesn't really rely upon humor at all, except insofar as it's situation comedy. In other words, and it's bad situation comedy. Situation comedy sallies, quips, and reposts which would have been rejected from any self-respecting situation comedy, but which find their home merrily among the other outtakes of situation comedy in the comics pages. Anyway, a lot of people are going into business for themselves, and I'm thinking, well, maybe I'll do a comic strip, but no. The Wrong Hero is far too controversial. Besides, he can't draw that well. Every single panel would be the wrong hero, and then in the last panel, maybe the wrong hero's head would explode. And that would be kind of boring 5 times a week plus Sundays, or 6 times a week in selected markets plus Sundays. The dog is scratching its ear. Hi, Mona. Mona. Oh, she springs up. She thinks she's going for a W-A-L-K, but she's not. I just wanted her to stop scratching her ear. I hope she doesn't have big ticks in there or something. We had to have a vet take a big tick out of her ear. Ugh. There was a tick mating with another tick. You dog owners know what I mean. And it was like the size of a small olive. Good thing I didn't try to rip it out myself. Ugh. Anyway, Angry Wounded Pride beer is not like all of the other microbreweries, with perhaps traditions going back hundreds of years. Nah, here at Angry Wounded Pride Breweries, we just whomp us up a batch of rock gut when we need quick walking around cash in a hurry, in a tradition that dates all the way back to Prohibition. And you can still find it in some of our nation's finest penal institutions. Anyway, here's how we came to give our brew the name Angry Wounded Pride Breweries. Well, I was talking to my girlfriend, my fiance actually, and discussing with her the possible names that I might use to refer to my fine brew. And she said, why don't you get a real job instead of thinking of stupid beer names? And so, therefore, Angry Wounded Pride Brewery. Now, we don't get fancy hops from some communist country like Russia. Of course, they're not really communist anymore except in selected markets. But I think you get what I mean. You know what happens when you try to brew beer in Russia? They say, why aren't you making vodka? And they send you to Siberia, where you can make all the beer you want. Siberian beer. Anyway, no, we don't get our fancy hops from some communist country. We just get some hophead to stir a batch with a wooden paddle every now and again in exchange for a fix. Can I go any lower in my degradation? You won't find Angry Wounded Pride at, say, the Middle East Cafe or Titi the Bears or Phoenix Landing or the Rat or other fine establishments. You got to ask me for it, and bring your own aluminum bucket because I'm running low. On used bottles. Anyway, at Angry Wounded Pride, our motto is brewed yesterday, aged in porcelain buckets. Actually, aged in porcelain containers, but whether that means the bathroom or the toilet depends on what kind of mood I'm in and whether I have to go to the bathroom. Angry Wounded Pride goes good with all kinds of food, but let's face it, a lush like you is beyond eating food. Our beer ain't fancy. It's cheap rock gut for alcoholic bohunts who want to get tanked up in a big fucking hurry. Now, you might notice that we have the number 33 on our label, in emulation of another fine brew product, namely Rolling Rock beer, brewed in Latrobe, Pennsylvania, which I will hasten to remind you is in the western part of the state. Actually, Pennsylvania is 3 distinct states, and of course in the eastern part, I think they brew Schmitz, and in the central part, I think they make moonshine, and of course in western Pennsylvania they make Latrobe beer and Iron City and Old Frothing Slosh and other fine brew products. And I think they make Samuel Adams Ale there, the Samuel Adams products. They used to brew them in Pittsburgh, maybe not anymore. But at one time, all you suckers were paying good, hard American cash money for a beer that was brewed in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, just think of it. Not more than a mile from where I grew up, as a matter of fact, in this place we call the Holla, or the Holler. It's the kind of place where, go down to the Hollow and set fire to an abandoned building and stay out of my hair for an hour. Okay, Mommy. Anyway, the 33 label on our brew doesn't refer to the year Prohibition ended or the number of words on the label. No, that's your life expectancy if you are a regular customer of Angry Wounded Pride beer. Now, when we make Angry Wounded Pride beer, we just throw in whatever's handy. Yeast, Cool Whip, window caulking, turpentine, nails, sponges, vanilla extract, a monkey's paw, clutching a jewel, anything at all just happens to be lying around. Don't leave your chihuahua hanging, Bob, because he might end up as the Angry Wounded Pride Brew Special batch, the spring beer. We do throw mattress springs in there, by the way. Now, here's our promise at Angry Wounded Pride beer. It won't blind you in both eyes. Now, try this simple test. Put your glass eye in a bottle of Angry Wounded Pride beer overnight. If it's gone the next morning, that means we've whipped up an extra good batch. And if it floats to the top, well, you can congratulate yourself on getting one of the batches that won't, in fact, blind you in that other eye. Now, we'd also like you to keep in mind that once you've gotten thoroughly sick of drinking Angry Wounded Pride beer, you can also try Foolish Pride Porter and Selfish Pride Ale. Now, I'm the wrong hero, brewmaster, entrepreneur, felon, reminding you, don't drink and drive. One or the other. But if you do drink and drive, that is, be sure and spend all your money on Angry Wounded Pride beer first, because we wouldn't have to go and lift your shattered body from the mangled remains of your vehicle and pluck the cash out of your wallet. That would be kind of messy, and we can't be chasing ambulances all day just because you are too irresponsible to give us all your money right away. Now, I'd also like you to try some of our other fine products. Stuck in the 60s Incense, Social Outcast Yogurt, Kundalini Yogurt, Death County Yogurt, He-Man Bacon Yogurt, and Walt Disney Frozen Yogurt, as well as our fine line of deluxe yogurts, Octogenarian Goat Herd Yogurt. We'd also like you to try Starving Bohemian Cheesecake, Pitifully Lonely Frozen Dinners, The All-Day Life Sucker, The Perfect Master Cocktail Wieners, Gorilla Wafers made with real gorillas, Madeleine Albright Salami, Park Avenue Fried Bologna, Cream of Plutonium Soup, Conspiracy Theory Peanut Butter, You Can't Make It Stick, Immortality Rice Cakes, Eat Immortality Rice Cakes and live forever, or at least it'll seem like forever, False Euphoria Herbal Cocktail, Inner City Rage Potpourri, Oppression Perfume, Horse Collar Aftershave, Larry Flint Cologne, Subvert the Dominant Paradigm MasterCard and Visa, Bitter Frustrated Old Man Insurance Savings and Loan, Silly String, Silly Sand, Silly Putty, and try our new line, Silly Dynamite, Silly Plastique, and Silly Plutonium. Also try Destiny Light. It's 97% fate-free. Also try Anarchy Light. Only half as destabilizing as the leading brands of political chaos. Now, as you may know, I'm the wrong hero, and I know that I'm not long for this world. I know that somewhere out there, there's a bullet with my name on it. And the way I know this is that it's been writing bad checks all over town, and my bank account is totally overdrawn. Now, when people see the wrong hero, frequently after the show, they come up to him and say, "Shay, man, you must have been fucked up out of your mind when you come up with them jokes." Well, anyhow, be that as it may, the wrong hero is also the proud sponsor of Spam Light, only half the salivary glands and hog eyelids of regular spam. Now, the wrong hero is also the proud sponsor of Elder Smith apples, because around here we don't refer to them as Granny Smith apples. That's ageism. And of course, my fine line of mixed nuts, which we don't call mixed nuts, we call them emotionally challenged nuts. Now, you know, it's interesting. Sometimes I have ideas which later pop up in the mainstream media. As a matter of fact, there was a recent episode of The Simpsons. It was broadcast on the 13th of April, and they referred to an organization called Save the Termites, a joke which I've been using, incidentally, since about 1988 or 89. So it took them that long, but they finally caught up to me. I got to stop showing all those old reruns, because, you know, it's getting to the point where I can't even come out with a good joke. Not that I only come out with one once every 50 times or so, without it popping up on television. Frequently, the very same day. There's a conspiracy out there. Anyway, another idea I had was to outlaw poetry. And of course, that crops up in the nation not more than a good 3 or 4 weeks after the idea has been broadcast. Now, who in their right mind would watch Cambridge Community Television just to get ideas for their magazine or television sitcom or what have you? You know, it's a tough call. But, well, Hollywood is a dog-eat-dog business, and the publishing world is even more so because there's so much less at stake. And, of course, academia, the most dog-eat-dog occupation of them all, because there's still less at stake. Speaking of academia, I was talking to the people in the history department down at the University of Rhode Island, because I'm thinking of getting my master's degree in history. There's a real job marketing idea. It's like, where did you get your degree in? Computer science. Oh, very good. Okay, next. What did you get your degree in? American history. Oh. Don't call us, we'll call you. Well, anyway, I was at the history department, and, you know, they were very nice and stuff, and we chatted for a while, and of course I inadvertently insulted the German history specialist by referring to a course at Harvard as Krauts and Doubts. Anyhow, my idea was to, you know, they had the war on poverty in the 1960s, and I was thinking maybe we could make it a war on poetry. And if we were to make poetry writing and reading a largely clandestine activity, that would inspire the nation's youth to take it up as enthusiastically as they've taken up, say, membership in militias or drug usage. So, anyhow, I want the government to outlaw me. That's right, you heard me correctly. I want the government to outlaw me. That's so I can be sold in front of housing projects for $20 a gram. I'd like to tell you a little bit about a recent distinction which I was the proud recipient of. Seems as though I was voted scapegoat of the year. And now they're persecuting me because I refuse to accept the award. Also, you know, people say I'm my own worst enemy, and I agree with them, and that kind of proves it, I guess. Anyway, I put up flyers at work saying the wrong hero steals the milk from the coffee supply and makes endless Xerox copies. And when I make those endless Xerox copies, I have a picture of my visage and the printed legend, "This is the face of the enemy," and I scatter them around town. I hold myself for ransom. I call myself up at 12 midnight and say, "This is the wrong hero. If you ever want to see yourself alive again, meet me at the old warehouse on the edge of town at 1 a.m. and don't let anybody follow you." And then I don't show up. So again, that proves I must be my own worst enemy. Anyhow, I was looking for the control switch for the radio. Seems as though I left the radio on. It's going to overheat. Of course, it doesn't have those old-fashioned coils, so nothing's going to happen. So it doesn't matter. So I probably shouldn't even get up and look for the remote. See, we have 3 remotes in our family, and it's very seldom that we lose one of them. But this, oh, here it is. This appears to be the case. How would you like to have a little bit of radio? I know it's getting kind of boring listening to my droning voice, and it's only been like half an hour. So let's see, how do I do this? Oh God, what is music coming to anyway? I mean, you just turn on the radio at random, right? And you get all this like this endless vulgarity. Where are the hits of tomorrow? They're just not out there, as far as I can see. Of course, call me a fuddy-duddy, but I'm hep to the lingo of you youngsters, and I think, personally, if you want my opinion, and I'm sure you don't, but then again, you're the fool for watching this. I think music has really gone downhill. I'll give you yet another example. Get up there. Well, it's either Mick Jagger having a very bad day, or it's someone that wants to sound very much like him, but, you know, instead of the usual subtlety that the Rolling Stones are famous for, they have this, like, idiotic guitar and this pounding drum, and it's just not a good song. And then, of course, the obligatory sax solo. It's not a very good guitar solo. I spend hours and hours every month listening to demo tapes that are better than that. But of course, if I were the taste master of the United States, then I wouldn't be doing this now, would I? No, it all stems from my upbringing, such as it was. You see, my dad, he was kind of a hippie. He used to say stuff like, "Son, I'm going to teach you a lesson I'll never remember." Yeah, it's kind of a cheapskate, and I knew this from a very early age. Like, when I was a kid, I used to think that the moon followed me around. Then I realized it was actually following my father because he owed it money. Um, anyway, now here's an inspiring story from the New Statesman in Society, which I would like to share with you. It seems as though, to quote exactly from the account, garbage collectors in South Sea, Hants, United Kingdom, who heard a noise inside a discarded trash bag, found a caged hamster still running on its wheel. Now, is that a metaphor or what? If only somehow we could market that idea, you know? Anyway, football season's over. It's been over for quite some time, actually. Approximately 3 months, 4 months. But, you know, as long as I'm on the topic of my upbringing and my father, and after all, the title of this presentation is, in fact, The Triumph of the Superego, I thought I'd talk a little bit about Western Pennsylvania, where I'm from. Hence, my insistence on identifying it as a distinct regional phenomena. Distinct, that is, from central and eastern Pennsylvania. Well, you know, all the guys would sit around talking about football, the Steelers, and of course, you know, their baseball team is the Pirates, so that's funny, you know. Now that I think of it, they could have really spiced up the color commentary of the baseball season by referring to baseball as the, you know, like a pirate would. Like, that. I don't even know the names of any baseball players. Isn't that pathetic?
That Roberto Clemente. Sure, and he just put a live drive down the bugger's throat.
I gotta work on that one. Anyway, yeah, speaking of comic strips, I know I'm sort of just meandering all over the map here. I'm going to have to be forgiven for that. Usually, you know, I have this incredibly plotted out presentation all ready and waiting for you. But this time, of course, I'm under certain time constraints. Well, you know, actually, I'm not doing too badly. We're about, what, 45 minutes into this, and I got another hour and 15 minutes to do it. I'll finish up by 1:30. I'll take a crap and get my clothing lined up and take the dog back to my girlfriend's parents' house and tie her up in the backyard. Her eyes open with that one. Oh, we're going to get tied up in the backyard? Well, I hate it. I love it. I hate it. I love it. Woof. Oh, you know, I'm running about 15 minutes ahead of schedule, which is good, in case the phone rings and I get involved with this 15-minute conversation about, what did you do today? Well, I got up at 8 o'clock, and I went down to the University of Rhode Island, and I talked with the people in the history department. They told me that I didn't have to take the GREs to get into their program, and as a matter of fact, I might even get a teaching fellowship. They were so impressed with the cut of my jib, except, of course, when I attempted to shake the hands of the number 2 guy in the history department. I tried to use the soul shake, you know, the hippie handshake. I don't think that impressed him any too favorably, especially when I insisted. So, anyway, I think I've talked enough. I'm going to end this now. No, only kidding. Huh, you wish. Anyway, yeah, speaking of comic strips, I think I'd like to, you know, get my own comic strip, but maybe, and what's the most popular single panel comic strip out there? And don't say Dennis the Menace, because I don't, well, it could be. The Family Circus. So maybe we could update it, you know, the Militia Family Circus or the Manson Family Circus. Let's see, the Militia Family Circus. Grandma, how come there's Black History Month, but there's no White History Month? Every month is White History Month, Dolly. Or maybe the Manson family. Like, Mommy, PJ wrote Helter Skelter all over the wall. And Mommy would say something like, well, okay, then you write Die, Pigs, Die. Or maybe the Woodstock Nation family circus. Uh, or, you know, hey, PJ, don't bogart that joint, har har. Or the satanic family circus. Mommy, PJ's sacrificing a goat's head to Satan. Now, PJ, how many times have I told you to do it inside of a pentagram? So, anyway, now here's a promising field of endeavor. Uh, Generating ad revenue from the negation of a product. Now, I hate to sound a little didactic here, but you know that when people want to know the secret for getting rich, basically they're told, well, you know, forget college, forget all that stuff, go into business for yourself, work like a dog for 40 years, 18-hour days, that's the ticket, and then retire too old, sick, broken down, and exhausted to enjoy the incredible amounts of money that you've made through your persistence in the industry. No, I think there's a better way. Well, first, no, you go to high school, you go to college, you get a job with a large corporation, and you learn how to sell poison and disease. You do that for a while, maybe 10 years. Then maybe you go into business for yourself and you learn how to sell the antidote, right? And there you go. Anyway, and that's why I think of it as the best way to get rich, I think, is to generate ad revenue from the negation of another product. Like, it's like selling chewing tobacco instead of cigarettes to school children. Hooked on smokes? Well, try this here chewing tobacco. No one can tell except for that little spit that you dribble out of the side of your mouth during gym class. Anyway, they have these cards, the Hallmark people, I believe, and they're called out of the blue cards. They're like, it's not Valentine's Day or somebody's birthday, nobody's sick, nobody's graduating from college or high school, it's not your anniversary. Well, give a card anyway. Why? Well, for no real reason. That's why we call them out of the blue cards, because they just come out of the blue. Like, so anyway, in line with this idea to generate ad revenue from the negation of a product, and additionally in line with the idea that, you know, you could have cards for every occasion, you can have cards for the negation of an occasion, like breaking up cards. I mean, it's easy to tell someone you love them. What's hard is to tell them you don't love them anymore. So, you could hand out breaking up cards. You can call them anti-Valentine's Day cards. Like, I would sooner curl up with a 18-foot python than ever to sleep with you again. Or, you are beginning to annoy me. Or, loving you is no longer in my job description. Now, if you'll permit me to digress a little bit, I'm actually going to do some new material that you haven't heard before, and that should be amusing. Well, I don't know. Getting into this thing with the anti-occasion greeting cards first, and then digressing into advertising. Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you that the motto for Angry Wounded Pride beer. The taste? Bitter. Anyway, oh yeah, and of course my idea for a book, Codependent and Loving It by Me and My Girl. Oh, by the way, my dog just had her 21st birthday, so I poured a beer down the toilet bowl. Anyway, these anti-occasion cards, I don't know, just cards from out of the blue. Insulting cards that you give to people you just don't like very much. Like, when all else fails, ... act stupid. Or, here's one you can give to your boss. Place not your trust in princes, Ecclesiastes 4:3. Um, whew. Or maybe you could give this one to an aspiring writer. Study history and you'll be a better writer. Anyway, with the way I'm thinking, advertising is basically a cheering section for the side that's already won. Advertising is capitalism's practical joke at our expense. Hence, the spate of advertising campaigns in the 60s, which had to do with practical jokes which were product related and all done at the consumer's expense. Leading up to and culminating perhaps in the Folgers Crystals ads. Hi, we're fooling Mayor Marion Barry. We're replacing his usual crack cocaine with Folgers Crystals. Let's watch. Or, we're fooling Jesus of Nazareth. We're replacing his usual vinegar sponge with Folgers Crystals. Let's watch. Advertising is the answer to the question, where does the anger go? Now you may ask, why advertising? Well, advertising never asks why. And that's what distinguishes it from other forms of artistic endeavor. Of course, music very seldom asks why. If anything, if music ever gets introspective, it's usually merely to celebrate the power of equally cheap music, as in Who Put the Bump, or It's Only Jukebox Music, or Rock and Roll Fantasy, the last two by the Kinks. America, in many respects, is a melting pot. It's the only place in the country, in the world really, where you can get pot that makes you think you're melting. These are just some scattered observations that I have. You know, if it weren't for Jews, entertainers wouldn't have a language. Schmuck, shtick, schmear. Where would all these words come from if it weren't for Jewish people and their fine contributions to our entertaining culture? But you know, if it weren't for white guys, we'd all have polio. So, because Dr. Jonas Salk would never have been born, and he wouldn't have come up with the polio vaccine, and that would be sad. Well, I want you to remember that you should always beware the patience of an angry man. That's going to be one of my next feature-length broadcasts. You know, I'm getting tired of doing these 2-hour broadcasts. I mean, I could do 3 or 4 a week. I think 3 a week is about as many as I could do. That would mean about 12 a month. I had to come up with 4 a month. So I'd only be 2 months ahead, even if I worked like a dog every single day that I have free to do so. And that would be after a month's hard work, I'd be 2 months ahead. After 2 months hard work, I'd be 4 months ahead. So that means I have the next 2 months to do enough to get me through the summer, which, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it. I should just show reruns, for God's sake. Except the camera doesn't have a video function, it seems. And because of that, it's difficult for me to make duplicate tapes or kinescopes. Now, I could farm them out to somebody who needs the money, but I need the money more. If only I could use his equipment when he wasn't around. That would be the ideal solution. Or maybe I should just get ambitious and hook up 2 VCRs and try to do it that way. I mean, that would be the sensible way, which is why I'm not doing it. Anyway, whenever somebody does something that I don't like, once I take over the world, I think I'm going to have my hordes of wrong hero minions come up to their door and say, "Hello? Who is it? Open up. It's the wrong hero." "Yes, how can I help you?" You there. You're the guy that's doing that ad campaign with the Italians and the salad dressing? Yeah. Cut it out. The wrong hero don't like it. And that would be the end of that. So, hopefully, once you elect me the Supreme Lord and Master over all, not that I need to be elected, come to think of it, I'll just seize power in following an abortive putsch, which I plan in a beer hall. 13 years later, I'll rise to power legitimately. Well, 10 years later, after spending a spell in prison, using it to write my plan for world domination. I'll call it something like my struggle against 30 years of lies, cowardice, and stupidity. And, of course, the publisher will insist on shortening it to something like, hey, kids, it's fun clowns. Anyway. Where was I? Oh, yeah. I'm thinking of doing a film version of Hamlet, but there'd be no human actors. It would all be, computerized. There'd be killer cyborgs and exploding rocket ships. But you know what? I think they've already done that. It's called the Star Wars trilogy now, isn't it? Maybe less ambitious and yet more ambitious, because more practical, would be my idea for a 30-second Hamlet. Get out your stopwatches. We're fooling Hamlet's evil uncle. We're replacing his usual entertainment with a fiendishly devised play within a play, which his disappointed nephew hopes to utilize to make him blurt out his guilt at having murdered his own brother. Let's listen. That would just about do it. Well, when I get old enough, I think I'll probably be eligible for anti-Social Security. Of course, I'm probably already eligible for that. Well, it's kind of premature to do a 1997 roundup, seeing as how the year isn't even half over yet. Ah, smell that coffee. Really wakes you up in the morning. That's because it's conditioned response coffee. Anyway, if I could put a want ad in the paper, and of course there's nothing stopping me, but, provided I had enough money, but yet again, given the controversial nature of the ad which I would put in the paper, perhaps they would refuse to accept my want ad, which would read something like this. Wanted. A strong interest in something other than commodity fetishism, significant enough so I don't have to feign a stupefied enthusiasm for bogus pulp and superficial pap. Significant enough so that I don't have to feel obliged to participate in pointless rituals of coercive harmony and ceremonies of mindless groupthink. Significant enough to give meaning and purpose to my otherwise squalid and pointless existence. Significant enough so I don't have to undergo psychoanalysis. Significant enough so I don't have to sit here and moan about the psychic imperialism of corporate culture while at the same time selling myself as a commodity. Significant enough so that the noises I make during these presentations are not merely the rattling of a stick inside of a swill bucket. Significant enough so that the things I do are not merely the actions of a man who is merely sitting in a sewer and adding to it. Finally, wanted. A strong interest in something other than advertising which promises everything and then takes everything away. This is my advertisement for a new life. Kind of long for an advertisement, wouldn't you say? So let's see. We got the outtakes from a mock sessions, which it's been so long since I've gone through these that I don't really know where I left off. But I don't know, maybe I should just read the whole thing through, huh? No, I don't think so. They've already done a lot of this stuff. It's kind of tough to keep track of all these things. These are just the notes anyway. I didn't even end up doing half of this stuff. See if I can find the final version. No, I really don't know where I left off. Oh, here we go. Probably here. Now, people might ask, although they never do, Wrong Hero, why do you want people to know you as a comedian? And to that, my answer would be, well, my one ambition as a comedian, like that of most comedians, is to rise to a position of prominence so that I can leave cappuccino farts on David Letterman's sofa. Now here's an interesting thing, and since the material is kind of running thin on the ground at this point, maybe I'll permit myself the luxury of a slight digression. You ever notice how, this is your typical Jay Leno opening premise. You ever notice how, they could get a parrot up there to do Leno's job. Come on, they could program a parrot to say the same sorts of things that Leno says. I kid you not. It would have to just learn, 3 phrases, like, you ever notice how, and then get some robot to read the rest of it, with the impeccable timing which has made Jay Leno the paradigm of late-night Yachmeisters. And, that's very interesting. Just the other day, but Letterman doesn't seem to have comedians on his show anymore. He gives pretty short shrift to those who do wind up getting a slot on his show. Last time I saw a comedian, he got bumped, and Letterman let him sort of like stand there like a doofus while the show slowly ran out of time. Does that mean that comedians aren't fashionable anymore? I think that makes it safe for me to be one once again. Because, the big comedy boom, it sort of peaked about 10 years ago. I mean, it's been in a steady downward phase ever since. I guess all those people who saw the movie Lenny starring Dustin Hoffman back in 1974 have given up their dreams of stardom and have decided to become paralegals or something that will utilize their skills and talents to a more lucrative degree. Anyway, boy, it's hard. It's hard to talk for an hour straight without some sort of diversion, so. Whatever happened to him, huh? See, now he dropped out of sight just about the same time that comedy was beginning to peak and decline. That should tell you something right there. Not that I don't respect David Byrne. I saw him in 1978. He was very good. The band was sharp. The songs, they were mostly from the first album, some stuff from the second album. They ran through their entire repertoire in about an hour and a half. They even did their first single, Electricity. And he was in very good voice that day. He was really trying hard to overcome his limited range. That was 20 years ago. I can't believe it. Nearly 20 years ago. that I saw the Talking Heads live at the Berkeley Theater, or the Berkeley Center for the Performing Arts, if you will. Well, yep, those were the days. Well, anyway, yeah, we're getting to the outtakes from what I like to refer to as the Amok sessions, which you were probably tuned into last week. And that is to say, or 2 weeks ago actually, if you actually tune into this program at all. And it's an hour gone. I should try to do these things in hour-long increments. You know, I'm really kind of pushing myself to the limit by attempting to rattle on at such length. Well, so much for that. You know, of course you're going to be wanting to hear the chorus, right? So we'll get the chorus, don't worry. Come on! Is that the Go-Go's with Vacation? Man, I'll tell you, that's a pretty crummy hook. I mean, all that build-up, right? That's the moral. Vacation, have to get away. Well, let's look this up now. I mean, I got plenty of time to kill. I've got about 20 minutes more of good stuff and another hour to do it in. So let's look up the Go-Go's in my handy Billboard Book of Top 40 Hits. If they're in here. Actually, they might not be. This might be, yep, Vacation. July 17th, 1982. Number 8 for 9 weeks. You know, Our Lips Are Sealed, that was their big thing in 81. And then in February they did We Got the Beat from 1982. That was number 2 for 3 weeks. And it was 15 weeks on the chart. And Vacation, they're on the IRS label, interestingly enough. God, this is the worst Go-Go song of the 3 which managed to rise to any degree of prominence. Now, let's see, I thought I had 2 books of top 40 hits, and one was a little more recent. You know, I've worn out my copy of the Billboard Book of Top 40 Hits, as you might have been able to predict. There's a song that's been rattling through my empty skull, which I would like really give my eye teeth to figure out the name of so I can listen to it. And the thing is, it sort of reminds me of that song, Call Me, any old time you just call me, da-da-da-da-da-da, call me. Because, you know, the opening bars of that song are like, dun 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 dun. But this one is, let's see, it goes slightly differently. It's like, dun 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 re dee 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 dee. But I can't. I think it's a Kinks song, but I know every Kinks song, and I have a list of every Kinks song, and it's not one that I can associate with that list of Kinks songs I have. Well, it's just going to burrow through my brain, I guess, until I finally figure out what it is. Now, of course, I'm digressing, because I'm still trying to find my more recent edition of the Billboard Book of Top 40 Hits. But And that's weird because Pat McGrath sold it to me for like $2. Maybe I have it down in the cellar or something. This one's good, but it only goes up to like 1983 or something. And I need a more recent one to see if the Go-Go's have happened to graced us with any more hit songs after Vacation, ba 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 ba. Vacation, got to get away. Vacation, got to get away. That's a really profound moral there, isn't it? Got to get away from what, you may ask? It fails the journalist's tests of the 5 W's: who, what, where, when, and why. Particularly why. Vacation, got to get away from this song. Vacation, got to get away. Vacation, got to get away from this song. Yeah. That's too bad. I have the Billboard Book of #1 hits, but that's not the one I'm looking for. You know, I actually loaned that to somebody, and they actually brought it back. Isn't that cool? I mean, if someone loaned it to me, I probably wouldn't have brought it back. I would have made any excuse possible. Well, no, I'm not going to turn up the more recent edition of that Billboard book. And that's a thing called sad. Well, you know, ideas are a dime a dozen. I have a banana here. I'm going to eat because I haven't really had much in the way of breakfast. What did I have? I had one English muffin. That's going to put hair on my chest. Oh, I got to tell you. No, I don't think so. I'm drinking Autocrat coffee. Roasted right here in Rhode Island. Autocrat coffee. It's the coffee Hitler would have drank if Hitler did not, in fact, abstain from all caffeine products. No wonder the guy was in such a snit. You know, his blood sugar gets low. Can't even get a jolt of Java to get him perked up again. Now here's the thing, he abstained from coffee, and yet he had massive amounts of amphetamines injected into his bloodstream by his personal physician. I mean, was he hoping to get some sort of credit for this or what? I mean, Hitler, tobacco and caffeine abstainer, vegetarian, alcohol abstainer, you know, he's just got one little vice. He likes to mainline super powerful amphetamines which induce psychosis and cause him to make decisions that he shouldn't make. Well, I don't care what you say. He could not have won World War II no matter what he did. Because the rest of the world wouldn't have stood for it. What? The dog's looking at me. What? Starting that slow whimper. What? What do you want? Oh, you see me eating something? You want something? You got 4 dog biscuits in there that you're not even touching. If you tell me you have to go, I can't help you. I'm in the middle of something here. I'm sorry. I wonder if there's any messages on the answering machine. No. Go away. Oh, I see. You want a doggy snack? Okay.
Because I just picked his name out, and he's got 9 minutes and 55 seconds to call me back to register to get himself a brand new life. Chris Allen of Blackstone, Massachusetts, and you out there, if you would like to register to get yourself a brand new life, set yourself on the road to also being infinitely cool and winning yourself $25,000 with.
Okay, 25,000. I could go for that. People always say, "Oh, if only I had such and such an amount of money, I'd be doing okay." And then it's always double that when they finally get it. Like if I had $4,000 right now, I'd probably sleep a little easier because that's about the amount of money I'm going to be in debt by the time June rolls around. Anybody out there got $4,000? Well, what are you going to do for me for that $4,000? When you think about it, $4,000 isn't that much. I mean, if you got yourself on an extremely stringent savings plan, you could probably come up with cough up 4K in about 8 months. Yeah, $500 a month. You know, just sock it away. Don't go out to restaurants. Don't eat food. Don't buy yourself anything. Siphon gasoline from other people's cars. Um, yeah, this is what I should be talking about. How to live for nothing. I mean, obviously you have to pay your rent, but if you're smart like me, then you got a pretty low rent. But then, oh God, those heating bills. So, use the space heater, especially if your landlord's paying for the electricity. Just heat one little area of the house and stay there. Oh man, $4,000. I suppose I could sell my vast library, but that would get about $40 in trade, and that wouldn't do it. No, I need to think of some way to make $4,000 in about 6 months. I got one of those low interest credit cards, but it's only good for like 6 months, and then the interest skyrockets up to like some ridiculous figure, like 15% a year or something. Now 15% of $4,000 is about $600. I'll be lucky if I can just pay the interest on that sucker. I mean, I'd be working a whole month just to pay the interest for 1 year on the credit card. That's not smart. Just picture me with a mortgage. Well, at least I didn't get one in 1979 when the rates were like 20%. I wonder if there's anybody still paying off mortgages on that 20% rate. Refinance your mortgage. Save hundreds of dollars a month. It's easy. Let us show you how. The offer is good only for people who have more than 10 years of equity in their existing mortgaged homes. That's the thing. All these people are like jumping over each other to give you low interest loans on your home equity. What is their ulterior motive? The fool will fall behind on the payments and will snap up his mortgaged property for a song. The gutless old weakling will be out on the street and will be making pretty with his, anyway, his wife will leave him and his kids will disown him and blah, blah, blah. So anyway, you'd think after all these years that I've been doing this sort of thing that I would learn some of the secrets, if only through osmosis, of successful stagecraft, like varying the tone of your voice every now and then, giving it that endearingly high pitch, and then going down low in order to emphasize a certain point. There's the measuring cup. It's on the bookcase. What's it doing there? How did it get there? Well, geez. I'm digressing all over the map here. And I haven't really said anything substantive for the last 10 minutes. And time is short and the water rises. Well, whenever I see something that's out of place, I always feel compelled to put it back, so. I love this song. I don't know why. I mean, it makes me kind of queasy, you know? I'll tell you why in a second. Now, like, why would Salisbury Hill be particularly resonant to me? I've never been to England. He sees an eagle. How many times do you see an eagle? Yeah, his vocals are kind of strangulated. This is the good part, though. Listen, listen. So basically, it's like Peter Gabriel was at prep school or something like that, and it was the end of the term, so his dad comes and schleps him home. And this is like supposed to have some sort of emotional resonance to us, if in fact we are neither British, nor pop singers, nor prep school students. nor Far From Home. I just don't get it. But of course, I went to a Benedictine boarding school run on the English model, so of course it does have resonance for me, even though I was in college at the time. So let's see. I was feeling part of the scenery. I walked right out of the machinery. John Lennon was to reprise this theme with his song Watching the Wheels 4 years or so later, in which he said, I'm just sitting here watching the wheels go round and round. No, I really love the way they roll. No longer part of the merry-go-round. I just had to let it go. But, this is the good part. This is actually a really good song in some respects. I mean, in other respects, it's kind of lacking, but it's more the emotional resonance of the song, the feeling it creates in you, particularly if you happen to be, like, say, 40 years old, because it came out like 22 years ago. There's all this screaming in it, and I have no idea what it's supposed to mean. I think British people in particular like to have screaming or women's voices saying something entirely different. Let's see if this ever hit the top 40. It seems to be a staple of FM programming of a certain type. But, well, Genesis hit the top 40, which in itself is surprising. No, how do you like that? It's not here. Genesis. Genesis owed their music business break to producer and self-styled pop eccentric Jonathan King, a one-hit wonder in his own right with Everyone's Gone to the Moon. But there's no mention whatsoever of Peter Gabriel anywhere, and I know he's had hits, but probably not much before 1983. See, that's the big problem here. Well, let's look it up by title. Maybe it's under the title and somehow unaccountably. Salisbury Hill. There ought to be a directory, for songs that are played constantly on FM radio, but never made the top 40. I guess it's called the Hot 100. It probably did hit the top 100. Was Salisbury Hill ever issued as a single is the question. And I have plenty of reference books here that would probably reveal the answer to that. Perhaps it hit the British charts. Let's see, the British Invasion. Transatlantic Gold. This might be the answer right here. Yes. But this only has like the top 20 hits of any particular era. I was all broken up when Peter Gabriel left Genesis back in 1975. That was big news in the music world, incidentally. Well, let's see, I'm looking at 1975, 1976. Let's look up Peter Gabriel. Genesis, yes. Peter Gabriel. Maybe we'll look up Salisbury Hill. Just on the off chance. Well, there's Sonny and Cher, something else by the Kinks, no Salisbury Hill, but Genesis has got to be in here, even though, strictly speaking, they came very late. Peter Gabriel, 223, 224, 236. Genesis, 223. UK hit singles. Salisbury Hill, number 13 in 1977. What does it say? Robert Fripp and synthesizer whiz Larry Fast were behind some of his great success on his 3 solo albums, which were all entitled Peter Gabriel. So that's good to know. It was number 13 in 1977 on the United Kingdom charts, which is nice. I don't think so. Anyway, yeah, in line with the sort of entrepreneurial inclinations that I have been more or less pretending to harbor, I'd like to mention that, well, first of all, I like, this whole Hale Bopp thing and that weird cult, the Applewhite people and all that. I mean, it sort of makes me lose all of my faith in science. So, basically, because of that, I've canceled my subscription to Scientific American, and I'm thinking of starting my own magazine. It's called Superstitious Caveman. That's right, Superstitious Caveman. And the first issue is dated 1 billion BC, and it has these nice articles in it, like fire, bad, and sacrificing your firstborn to the angry sun god, some do's and don'ts. And are dinosaurs kosher? See, now, I don't know if scientists would find this amusing because, first of all, they'd say, well, there was no human life on the planet in 1 billion BC, and some scientists dispute whether there was any life whatsoever. And, of course, they'd also say, dinosaurs and cavemen did not exist simultaneously, so the question, are dinosaurs kosher, is not really a valid inquiry. And, but the only thing that they wouldn't have questioned is the notion that one would sacrifice one's firstborn to the angry sun god. But not all tribes did such things universally. Ethnology teaches us. The Egyptians did not fear the gods, for they believed that their pharaoh was, as a matter of fact, a god in his own right, and could counter the effects produced by the angry gods of the firmament. I just pulled a piece of lint out of my nose. How do you like that? How does that grab you? All right, I'll digress a little more. There. So much for that unendurable song, whatever it was. I don't know. I grow old. Oh, this is nice because we can get some television going here.
I speak from sad experience. The legal fees alone can drag a small station under.
Cool. Like this one, for example. If I say anything bad about Scientific American, and they find out, 4,000 years ago, when the comet swung by Earth last, astronomers calculated it was 2213 BC, the grandeur of Rome and Athens lay centuries in the futures. The Mayans, Incans, and Aztecs were yet to be. The plow was just coming into widespread use in Europe, where settled agriculture was still a novelty, and cities unheard of. In the Illinois River Valley, hunter-gatherers returned to the same site their ancestors had been visiting since 7500 BC to exploit the nut harvest. Wow, speaking of exploiting the nut harvest, I mean, isn't that like what the internet's for? Come to think of it, you know, when I take my dog out to the park for a walk, her ears prick up slightly. No. You're not going for a walk. No. I'll be taking you home soon. She sniffs at all the trees in the park, and it's sort of like the canine equivalent of the internet. And let's see what Adam Chandler has to say.
That's going to be acceptable.
In the morning? I don't have that long. I have to go home.
You may leave.
You may leave. I know, and you have better things to do than to sit here, you know, and listen to a mere clown whose sole purpose in life is to tickle the sores of a fickle mob. Well, here's a question for you. In science fiction, why are aliens always smarter than us? And this leads us to another question. In religion, why are the gods always mightier than us? I mean, can you imagine a religion where the gods are weaker than us and can't even do the things we can do? Like, say, drive cars. You know, that Jehovah, I used to like him, but then I found out he doesn't even have his driver's license. Yeah, not only that, I hear he dropped out of college, decided to go into a sandal making business, lost his shirt. That's why he walks around with that robe. I mean, I guess, you know, it all has to do with, we look up to the supreme beings. Unless we're in Australia, then we look down. But that's neither here nor there. Well, mostly there. But, geez, you know, I'm generating about 3 good ideas from this. I was hoping maybe my bursts of wit would be so incandescent that my merry quips and sallies would instantly generate a 20-minute set that I could perform in front of a demanding audience who has never or seldom ever given me the benefit of the doubt. That's why I dread doing these private parties. Basically, I'm invited to do them as a sop to my ego. We can call it the triumph of the superego. And once I'm there, nobody pays any attention to it. Either I'm down in the basement doing it, and nobody comes down to watch, or I'm up in the living room doing it, and everybody's clustered into the kitchen, talking a mile a minute, ignoring me, the wrong hero. So anyway, why are the science fiction aliens always smarter than us? Can you imagine like an alien who somehow gets here, I don't know, but through solar power? They're just not very bright. They don't have television. They don't watch the Nature Channel. They know nothing about this planet. They don't have any means by which they can observe us via long distances. They're just kind of stupid. They get a job as a janitor somewhere, and you know they walk among us, and they're not bothering anybody. Nobody wants to hurt them really, but let's face it, the aliens that came here in the late '80s, early '90s, they just don't have what it takes to like be a big success. I mean, we tolerate them. Their own planet is really overcrowded. I don't know how they got here. It looks like they floated on a gigantic asteroid to get here. They got a balloon, and they somehow, by incremental steps, got here through hook or crook, or maybe they're only incredibly smart in one way, and that is getting here. Everything else, they haven't a clue. Maybe, like, say, their civilization was at one time incredibly advanced, but then it went into deterioration and ruin, and much like our civilization, Western civilization, during the Dark Ages, and only recently have they rediscovered some of these things, and they have all the mechanisms, but they don't know why or how they work, and they sort of accidentally trigger them. Like even like something like time travel. who's to say that billions of years ago some other galaxy wasn't exactly where Earth is now? So by means of this time travel, they could like find themselves on Earth with no idea how they got here and no idea how to get back. Guess they'd have to wait for another 400 billion eons in order to activate the time machine mechanism to bring them back to where their galaxy will be. Oh, and here's another thing, you know, outer space aliens, because they observe us from light years away, they know everything that's going to happen to us in the future, before we do. Now, they have some faster than light means of getting to us. That means that effectively, they know what the stock market's going to do tomorrow. They can make a killing. Oh, what are these things you call your Earth coins? Fall. On our planet, we use telepathy for money, and such like. Anyway, food for thought, eh?
If God's on better, for a difference you can feel. New softy drives.
God, the commercials are better than the programs. The programs just sort of meander, much like this presentation. Anyway, I have no money, but I do have one very important thing. Something they can never take away from me. I have the human spirit. Can I borrow a cup of heroin? Never mind the cup. I'll eat it here. Anyway, those of you who have seen pictures of the wrong hero know that he is a superhero who has no powers in particular, except perhaps the power to make other heroes doubt themselves and thereby incapacitate them so that he can overpower them with ease and do whatever it is he wants to do that the real heroes don't want him to do, which is basically nothing. Anyway, I wear shoulder pads, and the reason I do that is because I am a journalist in my secret identity, and during the day I wear them on my knees. So, it's called knee pad journalism. A very abstruse reference. Now, you know how Clark Kent is always being billed as a mild-mannered reporter? When's the last time you have ever seen a mild-mannered reporter? You know, it's like, oh, excuse me, can I have that picture of your dead baby to put on the front page of the Boston Herald? Under 200-point type. Another tyke bites the dust. Story in pictures, page 3. You know, when I was a kid, I used to live in the same town as Superboy. And just to spite him, one time I put a kryptonite lock on his bike. And there he was, trying to get up the hill. Can't pedal, getting weak, can't use syntax. Anyway, gee, I can't figure out what this next thing is. No mess God. No messianic God? Gee, I don't get it. Oh well. Anyway, you know, they're always talking about Prometheus and how he gave fire to mankind and was punished by the angry gods for stealing fire from heaven. And it's like, you know, if he had been smart, if he had a lawyer or even a paralegal on his side, I mean, he would have stolen the fire from hell. Like, no one's going to miss it. The devil would give him an award for stealing it. Hey, you stole, great, my man, Prometheus. Anyhow, what does the devil say when he goes to the barber shop? That's right, Tony, just trim it a little bit around the horns. Ah, yes, humor. Oh, now, let's talk a little bit about that new uniform that Superman has, which somehow Mad Magazine got a picture of to put on their cover weeks before the rest of us even got to see it. You know, of course, that Luthor supplied him with this uniform, so you know there's going to be trouble down the road. How long is the new uniform going to last? 6 months? A year? 2 years? Till the year 2000? Are they ever going to replace it? If so, will they go back to the old one? Why haven't we heard more about this new uniform? I've only seen one reference to it, other than in Superman comics. One reference, perhaps in one of the news weeklies. You know, they're always on top of these cutting-edge trends. Oh, and by the way, Laura Nero died.
I'll give you the money. Well, what do you want to know? Why? Why what?
Why did Tanner hire you to pretend to be his father?
Cool. More soap opera intrigue, courtesy All My Children. Now let's see what's on the radio.
A new life.
What I'm interested in is money.
Over 20.
Huh. Well, that, you know, stop the presses. What I'm interested in is money. You know, well, you're pretty unique in that, sir. Most people are just interested in lasting fame or the satisfaction of doing things and doing them well. So anyway, I'm wondering, back in the 50s, juvenile delinquency was a big issue, and I'm wondering, did they have colonial juvenile delinquents? You know, back in colonial days, did they have colonial JDs? Now, how would this go? Hey, look. Hey, nice ox cart, nice ox cart. Hey, look, the keys. Let's go! Look out for that truck. Look out for that Indian. This is Cotton Mather with an important message. Don't help a good colonial lad go bad. Lock the ox cart. Take the yoke. This has been a message from your American Colonial Safety Council. The colonial thing isn't going to work for me anymore. I can tell that right now. You know, there's all these people, all these preachers down south that, you know, they're all saying God hates homosexuals. Well, what they don't tell you is, well, God hates homosexuals, but Jesus thinks some of them are kind of cute. After all, he does hang out with 12 guys, and not only that, but they're sailors. I mean, you know, draw your own conclusions. I'm not casting any aspersions. And what's this deal with Mary Magdalene? Oh, let me anoint your feet with oil. It is fitting and meet. Hey, Jesus, let's you and me get together. My kingdom is not of this world. Oh, man, I'll tell you, it sure ain't.
Approach.
We've found that people have very particular tastes, and
Yeah, so do I, like, for not listening to endless indoctrination.
lovers, some are peppermint, some love the kind of hot ball taste of the cinnamon. And
Oh, great. No, okay, let's get into various flavors of chewing gum. Let's do a little market research in the form of a commercial, or vice versa.
By the synthetic nature of the sweetener that's added to it.
Oh my God. God forbid that you should like put a hunk of plastic and chicle in your mouth and it should be artificially sweetened. Like, duh, I'm afraid my health might be affected if I swallow this plastic and chicle combination, if it has artificial sweeteners. Otherwise, the damn stuff can lodge in my peritoneum for hell of a day.
After all, we care about big kids too. Just have little flags on top.
We get a good rhythm going here.
You've been what? But more than
You know, we could continue this to maddening extent. As a matter of fact, I'm going to do something that I don't often do. I am going to play an advanced release tape by a band called Fool's Progress, and then we can like pick and choose among the three.
Not fight a tiger.
Bring it.
Once our 6-year-old grandson walked in on us.
Frosted Flakes have a taste adults have grown to love.
He survived style after style. Styling was ruining my hair. The exclusive pro-vitamin formula to create the style you want. With Pansy from Provi.
Pretty maddening, huh? You know, why stop there? Now, if I had a CD player, we could have 5 things going at once. But since I don't, we'll content ourselves with only 4. Let's see, what would be a good thing? Some spoken word stuff, but I don't happen to have any hanging around here, unfortunately. I don't think. Let's see, Jethro Tull, Sid Barrett, The Traffic, Lou Miami, Van Morrison, Incredible String Band, Pink Floyd, Cat Stevens, that's my girlfriend, Perubu, there we go. I'm gonna line the cats. This should be fun, huh, kiddies? Because, you know, personally, I'm getting bored. Oh, there's already a record on here. Gotta take it off. It's Cat Stevens, so it doesn't matter if it gets scratched. Let's see, I Will Wait is only 1 minute and 46 seconds long. So I'm gonna have to do some mighty quick.
Well, I am a little distressed, monsieur.
Andre, please.
Andre, yes, well, it was very distressing.
Such a beautiful. Casino loses business.
I've got a little bit of a rhythm going here. Oh, this is a good one then. enough of that is enough. Very entertaining though, right? I mean, I got a good little groove going there for a while. It's a pity though, like all good things, it couldn't last. I wonder what that song was anyway. The one with the da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Anyway, that second song, in case you're interested, is Drinking Wine Spodioti. Not the Jerry Lee Lewis classic, but the Pere Ubu reinterpretation from their second album, second full-length album, Dub Housing, their first album on the Chrysalis label. Chrysalis, who knows? What were they thinking when they decided to take on Pere Ubu as one of their label mates there? Pere Ubu's a great band. You particularly want to try to get Data Panic in the Year Zero, The Modern Dance, and Dub Housing. Some, mostly rock critics, have referred to them as the Great American Band. It's bad enough that nobody gives a shit about the Great American Novel. Now they're actually trying to posit there being a Great American Band. Cover.
This is the St. Lawrence Seaway, and these brown waters flow directly from the Great Lakes, the largest body of fresh water on Earth and a notorious hotspot for waterborne industrial pollution.